Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Bigger Bite, where we take a deeper dive into your favorite movies and television series coming out as they are. Once again, I am Matt. Joining me today is, of course, Amarú Moses, Nick Van Dinther, and we have special guest Jeannine the Machine. How you doing, Jeannine?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Amarú, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, I hadn't seen Jeannine in a while. Always great to have her on. It's been a minute since she's been on the channel. Nick was like, "What about Jeannine?" I was like, "Why do I keep forgetting?" Yes. So excited that we have her on today.
And Nick, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm looking forward. I feel like I haven't done one of these in a while, so I'm looking forward to getting back and talking some movies. I haven't been around for the last couple.
Yeah, you haven't, but we're here to talk to you about one of the most anticipated movies of the year and the second to last movie we have in the MCU before Avengers, as long as Spider-Man doesn't get pushed back. And that is Fantastic Four, directed by Matt Shakman, who is known for his work on Game of Thrones, but of course in the MCU, WandaVision. So there should be a lot of reason to get excited for this. So I'm going to start off with our special guest, Jeannine. How did you feel about the film?
I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like I can understand why people might be disappointed because, we just got Superman and Thunderbolts that had like these deeper themes, and this film doesn't really go into that. It's just kind of a straightforward superhero story. But I like that. It felt like a fresh start for the MCU, just like a clean slate. So let's just kind of get back to basics with things. And I liked that because we're following really likable characters. I don't know if it was just me, but I was getting a bit of Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 from this plot. The destroyer, the baby, four heroes having to, save the day, the giant thing walking the streets. So I don't know. Immediately I was like in Ghostbusters mind, but I really enjoyed a ton about this. I feel like the characters really felt like the characters we knew from comics. And yeah, I like that it was just very simple, and we didn't have to delve into anything too deep because we're really loving these characters. Obviously the best Fantastic Four movie that we've gotten. And yeah, I loved that we really focused on them being a team. They all had something to do. They all contributed. And I loved how Sue focused it was as well. So a lot here that I loved.
Amarú, how did you feel about the film?
One, never thought of Ghostbusters. That's because, even though I've seen it, I don't go back to Ghostbusters once. Not the new ones, not the old ones, but that is a very, very true. I did hear somebody else say they had Star Trek vibes, and I kind of felt that, especially with the Giacchino of it all. I liked the movie. I really liked a lot of the movie, but I have a bone to pick with Matt Shakman because I think he let a fantastic film down, especially in that first act, where I was feeling like, dude, did you and your editor have a conversation with the studio that y'all needed to cut 2 seconds from the beginning, middle, and end of every cut? Because they went into introducing them in that TV special that we seen in the trailer, right? And I was like, cool, that's nice, but it felt like they never got out of it. Every single time I was like, especially in that first act, I was like, I'm loving Cousin. Cousin is a great thing. His name is Cousin. I don't know his real name. His real name is Cousin. Joseph Quinn.
Ebon Moss-Bachrach.
I know his real name, but his name is Cousin. Look, especially after Ayo called him the N-word at the end of The Bear, and I laughed my behind off. His name is Cousin. He gets that moniker from here on out. Joseph Quinn was great. I think they all four of them were really, really great to varying degrees as the cast. But it wasn't until, funnily enough, probably one of the most breakneck scenes that it started to settle in, and that was what stopped me from really, really loving the film. But everything else around it, I really liked. I will also say I did have to take my mind out of the exaggerated stereotypes we are used to for this family-owned film. So like Johnny not being full Johnny, I was like,
Yeah, being a total
This is-
asshole, basically.
Yeah, and I was like, no, we are used to Chris Evans doing a great job of being the asshole, but those
Yeah.
movies are not a high bar and not what they really
Yeah.
felt like. So I
Yeah.
there's so much I really like about the film, but I will say from jump, like the editing choices killed me, and like still feeling like I'm not a full blown stick up my ass film critic. Saying that hurts my heart, but I did really, really like it, especially towards the end.
Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the big thing with this film is anything that you were worried about kind of was quelled. If you had any questions about the casting, I think the casting, they proved on screen that they killed it. If you had any worries about how they were going to make Mr. Fantastic look on screen and if it was going to look goofy in video game style, it never felt that way for me. I thought the powers were used well and also not overused, which I thought was a big thing, especially with Mr. Fantastic. I think you were hoping for a fresh start feel from Marvel, like Jeannine said, and I don't know how you leave this feeling with anything but that. When we were coming out of our screening, a lot of us had the kind of feeling of sometimes a term like an early 2000s or a 90s film is used in a negative way, but Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire is still mentioned among the greatest superhero films that there is, and this kind of had that
though. But
feel.
anyway, okay.
This kind of had that feel, that 90s early vibe.
Mhm.
So I liked it, and I thought they did a really good job of building the 1960s as a world. Like everything that was different about this film, I thought they nailed. And especially when it comes back to the casting, you can make an argument that this features some of the best casted characters currently in the MCU, because no one is crazy blowing me away. The ones that stand out are some of the lesser known comic characters to the big screen people, like Yelena. Florence Pugh is very great as her, but she's not one of the big ones. So in this new wave of casting, this could arguably be the best casted characters we have in the current MCU.
Yeah, no, the casting was great. The visuals were great. I do have issues with the editing, like Rue. But ultimately, I fucking hated this movie.
Wild. I was about to say, don't hide like you were just trying to hide those bites of food. Put it all out there, fam.
And it all boils down to the story. The story is a damn near 0 out of 10 for me. Like, I could not stand this story. And I had this conversation with a few friends, one this morning, one last night. This would have been a great second film. Great second film. However, something that I felt this film does not do well. They give you, I love the first 10 minutes. I absolutely adored the first 10 minutes. And then it falls off the fucking cliff. So here's the general rule of thumb I think I've developed. The Batman had no issue jumping into year 2. Superman had no issue jumping into year 3. I had issues jumping into year 3, and then we're adding to the group already with the birth of Franklin. And I get part of the reason why is, the age of the actors, like how else would it make sense once you move them over? But also, how else do you move them over besides bringing in Franklin? Which, it sucks, but I get why they had to do it. But I never felt like I got an actual Fantastic Four film before this, because it wasn't the Fantastic Four. It was the Fantastic Four and Franklin. And ultimately, I think a general rule of thumb is you need to have a good adaptation, at least one good adaptation under your belt before you can skip ahead and make us feel like, all right, you already know these characters. Nah, no one wants to see Fan Four Stick. People make fun of 2005's Fantastic Four. Like, it's not like we've gotten good Fantastic Four movies before this. Like, we've had good Batman movies or good Superman films. It just, nothing felt earned because I'm missing some of the biggest chunks of their history as a group. One of the things I was absolutely looking forward to, one of the reasons I was just so happy they casted Ebon Moss-Bachrach, or Ebon, was one of my favorite arcs in the Fantastic Four is Thing struggling with his humanity. And while we get 2 brief, subtle nods to it, we don't get anything involving that here. It's as if he's just accepted it and moved on. And it fucking killed me because that is one of the most important things to that character. It is a constant struggle he has. He rarely, if ever, accepts that shit. Johnny was damn near perfect. I got no issues with what they did with Johnny. But, like, I loved what they did with Sue, but like I said, because of the choice of we got to rush into getting them all in this universe, and we set up an entire retro 60s universe that we know ultimately they're probably going to end up abandoning in less than 3 years. And because of that, I'm sitting like, I'm really vibing with this. However, I know I'm probably not going to really get much more of this past Doomsday.
I got a lot of issues with what you said. A lot of issues. I'll start with this though. The specifics that you came up with, I had the same. I wish we got a little bit more with the Thing. And I think Mo-Man and I think his relationship with Natasha Lyonne.
I wasn't even done, so I could keep going.
Yeah, but you had a lot, and I needed to stop because those got dropped, and I understood those got dropped, and I was like, yeah, those are the parts that probably with it should have been 10, 15 minutes longer. They had enough meat on the bone story-wise to make 2 hours and 15 minutes, maybe even 2 hour 20 feel like it was a needed 2 hour and 20 on top of the editing stuff that we agree on. I got a lot of issues, but I'm gonna start with this one. I have no idea how you think a movie can be good if it's the second one, if it's the same movie and not the first.
Yeah, this would not have worked as a second outing.
I don't think, but here, I think it would have worked
as a second outing. This was a perfect. This would have felt lazy as a second outing because this is a buildup. This is a starting point. So I don't know how a very kind of straightforward superhero story would feel, innovative or upping the ante as a sequel.
And I'm going to say this is why I say it doesn't connect to me. You sound like you are upset you didn't get the movie you wanted and not checking the movie
or an origin story.
Not checking the movie.
I didn't need an origin story.
I don't feel like the origin story was bad. One, I will also say, while looking back at 2005 Fantastic Four, it is goofy, it is bad. Yes. But when it came out, people accepted that shit. And they enjoyed that.
It's like sitting right here next to me. I own both of these movies because I loved them when I first saw them.
But those are my first questions because it just seems like you were looking for something, you didn't get it, and I don't see the connection of how a good movie.
So here's the thing:
a bad movie.
I think you could have told their origins without expanding a 30-minute period of time to it. Perfect example: Superman Returns. While again, a movie that wasn't necessarily well received, they still give you bits and pieces of the origin within the film early on.
They did.
No.
The TV special gave the entire
origin.
I'm talking about what makes these characters interesting to me is seeing them grappling with the learning of their even if it's just a quick instance or two of them learning their abilities. I would have loved a body horror moment similar to what we got. I can't believe I'm saying this in Fan Four Stick, where Reed is just learning about his
then how is that not an origin? How is that not wanting to see an origin if you want to see them grappling?
I didn't need an origin movie. I just wanted better instances of origin, even if it's just quick moments, just like Superman Returns.
I'm going to let Nick talk because Nick is too nice of a Canadian to not jump in, but I'm going to leave this. I've yet to hear a criticism of what was given and not
it's all the story.
You're missing.
Not just things you wanted to see.
You're mad you're missing something. That's all I'm hearing. And again, what you have said criticism-wise, okay. But going to the part of ass, like you told me yesterday, I'm going over my head, man. But go ahead, Nick, because Nick is not going to jump in.
I was recently on Matt's Superman series show, And one of the big things, I was on his Man of Steel episode. Check it out on the Watt Reel channel.
It's got to go up still. The life got busy. I've been just decided on putting it on afterwards. So continue.
Check it out on the Watt Reel channel when it goes up. I'm a big fan of Man of Steel. I always have been a big fan of that movie. And one of the things that I got into on that was I have a friend who is very low on X-Men First Class, another film I really enjoy, because it doesn't follow the comic book storyline in the way that she wanted it to. There is nothing with any of these adaptations that say that they need to adapt exactly from the origin comics. I've never read a Fantastic Four comic in my life. I saw the originals when I was a wee lad. These characters have never meant anything to me. The idea of them being this big savior into the MCU, I was like, the goofy stretchy man and the rock guy, like, it was never, I never connected, I never cared. So stepping in partway through and giving me like this quick little origin story off the top in 5-10 minutes. I love that they did that. And they didn't give me the whole story of the Fantastic Four. It just feels like Matt getting too attached to what came before, because to me, I can pop on Skyfall and not need to see the origin story of how James Bond became 007.
But
I don't need that.
Skyfall's a sequel. That's the difference.
Either way, like it doesn't. Like any Bond film.
Casino Royale is also one of Bond's first missions. So again, that and it's fact is an origin story film.
Any character you can bring in where you don't see how they got to who they became. Austin Powers starts after he's been frozen for a long time, and he comes into this new world, but you don't know how he became the international man of mystery from the very start. There's no young Austin story. I have no idea why I picked that film, but
because it's a spoof of James Bond.
Yeah, you didn't need. I never felt like I'm missing part of the story going into that, and that struggle that you're talking about with their powers, like you said, we're what, 3 years in? They've gone through all that, and the fact that they went through all that off screen, I'm fine with that. That wasn't a missing piece to me.
Yeah, we
If
get
they
to focus
started
on
in
their
year
That's
one-
what's important to these characters to me. That's what makes these characters relatable and human.
But that's what's important to these characters in year one. If they were the same in year three,
They have a lot of these issues going out even past year one. So that again is why it's important.
If they're that same character in year 3 as year 1, that shows a lack of character growth, which is poor writing on my call. You see bits of Thing having those issues. They don't spotlight it, but these things are there. You can see that there's, especially with Ben particularly, that like he doesn't want to look the way he does. He's very self-conscious about like growing the beard and things
but
like
even
that.
Reed as well. Reed struggles with being too in his head, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, he has to be tapped on the shoulder to be reminded, think with your heart sometimes, Reed. So yeah, we see kind of those struggles with each of our characters. So I don't feel like we're missing that.
Yeah, what I enjoyed is that they moved away from going back to the struggles with their powers, and they moved into subtle. And again, I agree with you with they didn't go enough into all of them. It's hard with 4. So I get the Thing stuff, but they gave us subtle hints that I wish they got more of Ben struggling with his identity. They gave us a lot of struggle with Johnny feeling like he's not heard. He's not he's not more than the bad boy. They really went into Reed going into his head, and they gave Sue everything. So instead of focusing, I love that instead of focusing on struggling with their powers, they moved on to struggling with themselves as people with these powers. And that made them
struggling all that much as people.
You said you like you didn't mention Reed. You loved Johnny, and you haven't talked about Sue. So 1 out of the 4 people you had an issue with.
Literally
that's where I'm at with you.
You didn't get Thing being mopey and sad about how he looks, and that's like your main criticism. It feels like.
Listen. No, I didn't even get to finish my list of criticisms because Rue stopped me. So that's
you listed a bunch, and I'm going to keep going at this because the second thing you said is you said you felt like things weren't earned. What wasn't earned? And again, I don't think you're completely wrong. They definitely could have gone deeper with quite a bit. I totally agree with that as well.
I think when I say things weren't earned, was not given any reason to be attached to these characters. Not a one. And I wanted to. I'm the only one who has seen the movie twice.
I do need to see it again. I definitely need to see it again for sure.
I saw it at 2 p.m. yesterday. I was like, you know what? I'm going with friends at 9. I need to see this before then because I knew I had this. And I think I told you I always try to see a blockbuster film twice to solidify my opinion on it. So I'm not letting those first watch high emotions get to me. So I went and saw this at 2 p.m. yesterday, and I was like, I didn't like that. I'm like, maybe I'm just crazy because I had just had an interview at work for a promotion out of the blue, so I had no time to prep for it, and I was like, maybe that's just getting to me. I'm like, I'm going to get 9, it'll be fine. Went at 9. I was just as bored, almost even more bored. I was like, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing. I don't care about these characters that I have always cared about, that I love, that mean so much to me. And I feel like I'm not getting to spend time with them and get the dynamic of the 4, which is what I'm going to a Fantastic Four film for.
I personally thought that was the highlight of the film.
But
Aside from the special effects, which are also great.
After the first 20 minutes, the focus becomes the 4 and Franklin, because then it's the prep for Franklin. Then it's the Galactus.
But I think that's also added a lot of development as well because of the concerns and worries that Reed had about, what Franklin's going to be.
That's why I think this would have worked well as a second film. I needed to be able to fall in love with this 4 as a strict foursome first. That's just what I could admit. This is a personal need. And I didn't get the time I feel like they didn't devote the time or the energy to doing that, to pre-establishing that before adding Franklin.
So for me, the funny thing was, again, the beginning of the film had me detached from them. I was detached from them at the beginning. I was going up until I remember when we get the first shot of Ben, like looking at Natasha Lyonne's character. I was like, at that point, I was like, why is this not working right now? This editing is killing me. What's happening? But what was keeping me holding on, and then from the rest of it, making me really, really enjoy it, was their dynamic. I loved going into what does parenthood look like for the two of them? What does it deal with their connection? I loved focusing on Johnny feeling like he needs to be more than what we know about him. And again, Cousin, I think I actually really love Michael Chiklis as Ben. Yes. I love Michael Chiklis as Ben because he is the best friend you want to have. And Ebon Moss-Bachrach and Ben was my favorite character, if not the best out of the 4, because I want him as my cousin that's not a cousin. That's the guy I want having my back, because every little thing he did, holding the baby, like I was like, dude, is Franklin gonna think the thing is his father and not Reed? Because he is on this baby.
Always,
he has their back. That dynamic, bringing Franklin into me, brought an even bigger dynamic to the 4 of them, on top of the little things that we've already kind of known, and the hints of what the origin is that we missed. They're there for us to then expand from there. So I am completely on the other side of that.
Here's and I can say this just blankly because this is how I view a lot of MCU films. My view, how I've started grading them, is how does this fit going forward? What does this do for it going forward? We know what movies are coming forward. We know the next movie that we have any chance of seeing most characters out of or in outside of Spider-Man is Doomsday. This just felt like we're rushing to get to Doomsday and Secret Wars, because it feels like we're rushing to get to Reed as the Maker. It feels like we're rushing to put them in the main timeline after these events, because, I mean, realistically, I would have been perfectly fine with waiting until after telling a version of Secret Wars where Reed isn't the Maker and putting him in this universe after, because that would have made more sense to me, putting them in a new world, in a totally new world where the audience is essentially going to get reintroduced. You're going to have recast and everything, putting them in around the same time as mutants and going from there. So I get your thing. But like, you want, yes, I'll admit, I want this stuff, but I want this stuff because I know this is just how my brain works. I know what we're supposed to get going forward. And I didn't really connect with putting it in this entirely different world that I know is just essentially going to be erased in a couple of years. And honestly, I didn't like the fact that they retired the majority of their fucking rogues gallery before we got sent. It's like, yeah, we essentially retired everyone. Now you get Galactus. I was like, again,
I don't know comics like that, so y'all go ahead and take this one because I'm not. Yeah,
it just felt hollow.
Yeah, I think you're getting too hung up. I think that's the equivalent of like being upset that Rhino didn't play a bigger part in the Spider-Man movies. It's like he's a villain, he's a notable villain, but like he's there, he does his part, and he goes.
Yeah, like, I like being able to
very little. Yeah, I know very little about Fantastic Four, but I know Galactus and Doom are the two villains I know as an outsider.
And they're also two of the biggest threats to the entire universe as a whole. So to skip over, like, you struggled with Kang, so now you're quick. As much as they want to say they aren't quickly shifting to Doom to try to fix shit, that's exactly what they're doing. And now you've wasted what could have been your next two big bads going forward, just because. Yeah, we fucked up, and Jonathan Majors fucked up, unfortunately.
Wait, are you saying that they fucked up the use of Galactus? Because that's not what I left thinking at all.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Just pause.
Cool, I was confused.
Yeah, because like Galactus is coming back, dude. Like, that's clear.
I know Galactus is coming back. Just like the people who complain that Ultraman's that I'm like, no, Ultraman isn't that. He got sent into a black hole and he's gonna come back as fucking Bizarro. We all know this. If you don't see if you don't see a body in comics, they're not there.
They're good.
So my issue, like, great setup for Galactus, and it gives an idea of like, if granted that much, I guess because I know we've been told the next saga is mutants. It's the mutant saga. It's like, well, if the next saga is the mutant saga, and Galactus is gonna be off somewhere. Who knows how he gets tied in the future? It's like, and you sent him to the far ends of the earth. What happens when these worlds become one? Does does it change its placement? How long is the mutant saga gonna last? This is just how my mind works, and I've talked with Drew about it. How my mind works is totally different than a lot of other people's. And
everything about how you stated your mind, like anyone who tunes into this show and watches the last 5 minutes of what you just went on about and doesn't read comics is probably scratching their head like none of these characters mean anything to me.
I read a lot of comics though.
But you know the lore. You know the lore.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the lore.
You know who Bizarro is. You know who Galactus is.
That's why I loved because for those people who don't know, Johnny does eventually settle down, and he settles down with an alien chick. So I love the Johnny loves space, Johnny loves women, yeah,
and the flirting
Johnny loves women, Johnny loves naked space
Silver
women.
Surfer.
Yes, I was like, all right, cool. Are we gonna get Johnny marrying an alien? I'm down with that. But no, I can admit I know the lore, and there are moments of like I just stated that moment specifically. I love that moment. It's why I love Johnny was my favorite character of the four. My favorite character overall is Paul Ultrahauser as Mole Man. But I wish, like Drew said, we got more of them.
Yes.
But I'll be honest, I'm the type of man I would have sat through a goddamn Fantastic Four versus the Mole Man film. I didn't need Galactus off for it.
See, I don't want this. I don't want this. Like, to me, I really like what they did at the end of No Way Home, because the grounded superhero I want is Spider-Man. I don't want him involved in the Avengers. I want him to be literally your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah.
Thank you for that confirmation, Kevin Feige.
That's who I need. These other ones are world beaters, for lack of a better term. And I want to see them in these high pressure situations. And like Matt, you just said it yourself. You're like, for those who don't know, Johnny settles down with an alien. Comic Johnny might, animated series Johnny might, but film Johnny may not.
That was a nod to just people, and that's what I was enjoying. Like
and
that.
That's why I'm saying like that may not happen to this.
And that's fine if that may not happen, but it just tells me we're just going to see Johnny flirt with otherworldly beings, and I'm cool with that.
I'm still not hearing anything about this film.
Real quick, you want to act like Mole Man isn't an earthly threat? You absolutely out your goddamn mind.
World beater, though. We didn't like
world beater. Yes, world beater. No, he is a very fair earthly threat. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, what I'm gonna say is like I loved the setup that they have. My only issue was the editing, and it's an issue that got me down a lot because it took me longer than I wanted to get into it. I've still yet to hear an issue about the movie. I'm hearing about a Doomsday.
It's very much, yeah.
I said all my issues.
It's about things that are coming. It's about things that you didn't get.
I said up top, all my issues stem from the story. I just didn't connect with the story.
That's not the story. This what the story can become. That's why I disagree. That's why I disagree. I disagree with that because that doesn't sound like the story to me. That sounds like what the story might be, it goes to.
Yeah, what it's rushing to, what it's trying to get to.
But what again, that's how when it comes to, and I said when it comes to films like this, MCU, and I said the MCU grade movies I grade on a totally different scale because of that, because of how they're all connected.
And you know what?
Why don't you take this story for what it is?
On top of the fact that
I can't, it's just not how my mind works. And I
can on top of the fact that this is probably the most singular story of all of the MCU. You could watch this and never watch anything else. You know when I felt a little bit rushed into Doomsday, even though I loved it, is if you didn't know by now, we're spoiling. We already spoiled the hell out of everything else. It's the post-credit scene.
Yep.
That's when, and you know what? I really like the post-credit scene, but that feeling
love that we're not using the Iron Man mask.
Yeah. Rushing into the whole points of you saying we're rushing into Doomsday, they're rushing through everything. I, again, felt the complete opposite. It felt like a singular story of just these people. I love that they have both Shalabal and Galactus going somewhere, knowing they're coming back. So they're coming back in a big way.
Yeah.
That feeling of rushing was when Doom came with Franklin.
Yes. Yeah, and that was a Russo directed thing because it's going to be a part of the bigger picture. Just like Thunderbolts post credit was also directed by
I've been told both of those both of the
probably going to be
are in Doomsday.
Yes. But I was able to kind of take this as a self-contained story. Like, as I was worried that we were going to have them traveling and like their planet being destroyed at the end of this movie, and that's when they were going to be going into, you know, the MCU that we know. So the fact that didn't happen at the end of this movie, that we stayed where we were with these characters, we jumped 4 years into the future, that solidified it as its kind of own thing, and that I could accept this movie for what it was, what the story was, what it was giving me, and now we can worry about all of that other MCU connectivity later. So I like that we didn't, you know, delve into MCU kind of specific stuff within the movie itself.
What you just said your fear was, all those fears were gone from my head when Kevin Feige, after the Thunderbolts, talking about their post-credit scene, was like, oh, no, it might not be in there. And I'm like, okay. And I can already tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be Doom kidnaps Franklin, takes the Excelsior, jumps universes, and goes from there. Like, that's clearly where this is heading. And
you keep talking and bringing up.
But what does that have to do with this movie that you saw?
Not in this movie.
Because I'm saying that's what the post-credit scene is clearly setting up. That is.
You're also not Feige. Like,
I know I'm not.
Feige was where things were heading, and look where we are now. Like, anything can happen.
My track record of calling shit in the MCU is very high.
That has nothing to do with this film. Yeah. It has nothing to do with this film. That so we talked a little bit yesterday, and my biggest issue is that you called this absolute trash. And I was like, let me see what he's talking about. If you didn't like I know other people who also didn't hit for this film, and I'm like, I get your issues. I get the issues. Like, but I've still not figured out where
You sound like
this
me.
movie-
You sound like me talking to Nick Tuig about his thoughts on Superman, because how he felt about Superman is how I'm feeling right now. Literally, I don't know if you watched the TBNT review of it. But.
No, I haven't. I'm very confused though. I'm very confused of where. Actually, I see where your issues are. To me, it's not about the movie. It's about what you wanted from the movie. But hey, it is what it is. You talked about how you like Johnny Storm, your favorite.
Yeah.
What was everybody else's favorite? I said mine was Ben, but Sue is definitely the star of this film.
Yes,
sure.
no, it was Sue for me. I like that they gave her so many moments, seeing that she was kind of the one brokering these kind of peace or talks with, other people, when everyone's kind of hating them for not giving up Franklin. She's the one who decides to take him out there, introduce him to everybody, and kind of quell everybody's fears, and get everybody back on their side. And then just kind of seeing just how powerful she actually is, because I think her powers can be really downplayed by people who maybe don't know very much about the characters or don't read the comics. Invisible Woman, she can just turn invisible. They don't really think about kind of the bigger aspects of her power set. So to see how powerful she was at the end, that she was kind of the hero of the day, and then also kind of getting to see them all work around her, and add to that kind of final moment, was incredibly cool. So I liked that she was kind of a central focus for big chunks of the film and had these really powerful moments. So she was definitely my favorite.
Nick, what about you?
Yeah, Sue is definitely the star. Like, that's undeniable to me in terms of this, which is funny because when the casting was announced, Vanessa Kirby was the only one that gave me pause. Just because
she was the only one who didn't give me pause.
She was the one who gave me pause because it was at a time where, okay, before we get into all this, to all the people online, to all the discourse, yes, Pedro Pascal is in a lot of things. I get it. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing.
Agreed.
He's just in a lot, like, that is a factually correct statement. He is in a lot of things.
It's hard being one of the best working actors.
Right?
The Rock was in a lot of things, and he became tiresome. Pedro is doing this in a smarter way. Pedro is having, like, bit roles and Drive Away Dolls, like little things like that where you see him, but it's not like he's the star of the show. He's everything. Mandalorian, he's a voice. Last of Us, he's on TV. Like, he's in a lot of things, but good for him. He seems like a great guy by all accounts. Shout out to Pedro. But yeah, to me, Kirby was the only one who gave me pause because there's a certain type of actor that the MCU likes to employ. And Vanessa Kirby and everything I'd seen her in was very, very serious, very Oscar-style performances.
Well, she was in Hobbs and Shaw. That was not.
I hated that movie, but she was in Hobbs and Shaw. She's also very fun in the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, but
she was the one who gave me pause because, again, not a comic book reader. The Fantastic Four has always just been kind of goofy to me in a way. Johnny's goofy. I could call him Stretchy Man again, but like Reed is kind of goofy. He's like this brainiac, like in charge guy, but like a big nerd. Like, they were never, again, those movies, if you watch them again, those are kids' movies. They are not movies that are made for adults that kids can also enjoy. The original Fantastic Four movies are children's movies. So they are kind of cartoony, kind of goofy in a sense. So getting to see this grounded version of the characters, yes, I like Michael Chiklis, but to me, he also stands out in those originals as the least cartoon version, the kind of grounded character within it. And in this one, they're all grounded. Like, Johnny's not as annoying as Chris Evans is. Chris Evans in that character, not Chris Evans.
Yeah, like, he was generally very mean. Like, even in the Fat Four Stick, like, Johnny was always incredibly mean to Ben. And, like, I didn't like that. I like that it was more of a fun banter between the two of them here.
I don't remember anything from that movie outside of Doom popping heads.
But the thing that really stuck out to me out of all was just the chemistry of all of them. Like, sure, Sue Kirby is the standout actress in this, has the biggest role in this, but the strongest part of the cast is the chemistry between the four. I know there's a scene, and I wish we got more of it, and we will going forward, but there's a scene with Reed and Ben when they're talking about what's to come, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because you don't really get a lot of the Reed and Ben interaction. And in that scene, I was like, okay, this is like almost like an older brother situation. Like, he's going through all this stuff in his head, and Ben is
clocking it right away.
Solid one to calm him down.
Yeah, and he knows exactly what he's thinking. He knows what his stresses are immediately. He's super intuitive about his friend.
Yeah. So I love that. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I think with all his little interactions with everyone, his little interactions with Johnny, his interactions with Franklin, which I think are also quite sweet. I think Ebon's Ben is my standout person.
What I really loved is that every single one of them had a standout scene. I'll be honest, like Pedro at times was like, "Are you a little too stilted? Are you a lot too stilted?" And then the scene between him and Sue, where Sue's clocking him on the fact that he already thought about giving it up. He got to act his ass off in that one. I think one of my favorite scene for Johnny is his confrontation of Solid Ball, and bringing the fact that he learned her language. That actually made also her standout scene. And you mentioned Sue. I was wondering if people were going to be like, why her power so strong? And I was like, wait a second. No, they've already dropped little hints here and there. Like, this is a mother picking up a car for her baby, just at superhero levels. Like, not only is she extremely powerful, but they already, like, with the scene of her confronting the mob, like, showed, no, she's doing anything for this child. And when she's confronted with her child being kidnapped, she's gonna go on
hard,
like superhero version of I'm taking this car off of my child. So like, there were times, again, trying to get my brain off of the old movies, and things like at the end where Galactus is gone, and instead of having the entirety of NYC emerge from the underground and seeing their like shock and awe, we just immediately cut to them in NYC. And I'm like, why are you editing like essential seconds out of this movie? Shackman, you're killing me. Still, there were a lot more scenes where I really love the dynamic. And I think overall for me, my biggest thing is this could have been outstanding, but it was still really good and really standalone. So. And then there's this guy.
Well, you liked Johnny, so why don't you talk a little bit about what you liked about Johnny?
I mean, I think I covered it when I in all the complaining. But
well, like scene specific, like things that you liked.
One, like I said, the allusion to the for those of us who know his lore, that he ends up married to an alien. Two, the fact that he is actually smart. That's something that the 2005 film ignores, but this one does correct, is that they are actually all smart. They are actually all geniuses. I think, unfortunately, Fantastic Four, the 2010s one, whatever the fuck that one was, Fan4stick. Yeah, Fan4stick is what we call it. Even they talk about how they're all geniuses. And that's one of the few things that film probably gets correct. But this, having people know, like, no, Johnny's actually smart, and having him break down, like, that was great. We already covered the whole interaction with Shia Ball. Like, all of that was great. Joseph Quinn is just fucking fantastic. But I still just want Paul Walter Hauser to keep buttering me.
Yeah.
Robot lights down. Oh, don't worry. We'll fix that later. That was.
I was a little worried they were going to put it on too thick, and then he showed why he's an amazing comedic actor.
Take off your shoes. Don't forget to wipe your shoes. Just kidding. It's all dirt.
All dirt.
I really like Paul Walter Hauser. I do think that part of the reason I liked him as much as I did was they used him sparingly. Though I enjoyed those moments very well, I
might
could
have
see
killed
it
the
getting
tone
overdone.
a little bit.
Yeah, I could
because
see it
everyone
getting
was so
overdone
grounded,
too much.
like you said.
Listen, I'm going for a comic book movie. I want a comic book movie. It's why I love Superman so much. Superman was a pure fucking comic book movie.
My only thing is I would say he'd fit in Superman.
He
Fantastic
would.
Four is a little bit he 100% would fit in Superman because that movie's goofy. This movie like establishes groundedness. So like I think I like the spirit part of it as well too.
We've gotten goofy yet grounded in the MCU before. Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man film is a prime example of that.
That is Ant-Man. This is this movie.
Yes, it's very standalone. It's its own thing.
I'm just
it's
saying.
A heist movie. It's a self-contained story.
All I was saying is that Goofy works, and that's all. That's all I was getting at. Goofy can work.
My final last thing, because I was really surprised that I enjoyed the fact there's not much action in this film. Like when it hits, I really enjoy the action, but there's not much. They got the two things.
Bored.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
To each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
I just like each to talk about the film and not what they wanted. We're piling on now. We're absolutely piling on.
But like, okay, I'm not here to knock any other movies. Like, because like I said, I've enjoyed both superhero movies that have come out this summer. But to me, that sparing action really made a lot of stuff work. Like the battle against Galactus hit a lot better than what do they call themselves? The Justice Team, the Justice Division, whatever.
Justice Gang.
When Superman and Guy Gardner are trying to take down that giant thing in the town square. Like to me, that was just it was a panel of a comic book, but like there was nothing to it. Like I didn't really care about that moment. And
you're
for the Galactus aspect,
in the final act, and that's the big ending compared to something that's just supposed to be a moment within the story. Like I would agree with you. The Galactus moment hits better as a final act.
Even the first time they use their powers in the street against one of those comic book characters that I don't know or care about.
Yeah, that kind of montage of them fighting and seeing their skill set and seeing them as a team.
Yeah, I liked it. Each one had an individual character, like an individual attack that made sense. Like it was, you were watching all these different things work together, and it just kind of strengthened the family aspect of that again.
Yeah, so we get to see that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's true. Like I like that we got to see that.
Yeah, and I like that we got to see that in the spaceship scene as well when she's giving birth. Everyone's kind of still doing their part. You know, we forget Ben's a pilot, so we get to see his skills doing that. Everyone's helping out while, you know, she's going through this thing. Even Sue is still working, you know, making the ship invisible while she's trying to give birth. So everyone still kind of doing their part, still being a team, still seeing the dynamic in an action kind of set piece, even though it's more kind of contained than the big finale.
For sure. I definitely need to I've been wanting to see Superman again. This I definitely need to see again to see if like knowing how it's set up, I can sit in it sooner and enjoy it more. But overall, I still, it was the spaceship scene that got me settled in from then on out, really liking the rest. While I just kind of liked the stuff beforehand. So
My big issue with this, and I said it after I saw Thunderbolts, and I maintain it even stronger now, those movies should have been flipped. If Thunderbolts comes out second, Fantastic Four comes out first, you have the Doom thing, and then that post-credit in Thunderbolts that they're coming hits so much harder.
Yeah.
But it's not that coming.
For the post-credit.
That's why I was expecting that at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
I like I said earlier, I did not expect that. As soon as Feige kept saying, "Are you sure it's them in the ship?" I'm like, "All right, then yes." So, hey, just saying, I think it works. I think the release order works better, because ultimately, I feel like they looked at Superman coming out and they said, "We have a better chance of this one making money
against Superman."
Than this one. Thunderbolts is still considered a box office failure.
But it's brilliant. But it's really good.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But it is still considered a box office failure. Imagine what happens if you release that after a well-received Superman film.
Yeah.
Business always sucks the life out of quality of shit.
Yeah. But I think
one of the
also,
best movies this year is Life of Chuck, and it's a box office failure.
Yeah. But I think Thunderbolts also kind of set up this movie along with Superman. Like I said, it set up people maybe to think that this movie was going to have some deeper themes, all the depression themes and stuff in Thunderbolts, all the kind of humanity themes in Superman. So when you didn't really get that in this movie, people might be kind of disappointed because they might be expecting something deeper than just kind of a really focused family story.
Yeah, and that release order really flips that for me. Like,
Yeah.
it arguably might make Thunderbolts hit a little stronger because you're coming off this high of like family and camaraderie and stuff like that, and then you're going to a broken family immediately after.
Yeah.
Where right now you have the reverse. You have a broken family that turns into a story about a family that all works together. Flip that makes much more sense in an overarching MCU.
This is where I have to disagree a little bit, because you're coming off of people feeling happy, talking about how kindness is the new punk rock, this, that, and the other. And imagine going from feeling like that to watching a movie like Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that's a positive to me.
I feel like people are onions. I don't have it any other way. I like the orders. The only thing I do agree with, I do think the post-credit scenes would have hit a little harder, flipped. But I don't think it's that big. For me, it's not that big of an issue. I am happy in my comic book joy after the stuff they did to Anthony Mackie, and the I'm hoping that's the end of whatever they're dealing with in terms of trying to Frankenstein some crap together, because that movie made me sad.
That was the last Chapek era project. So
that's what I'm hoping for. But Thunderbolts, Superman, I am a happy person. I'm a very, very happy person. So.
Yes.
What?
Well, Jeannine, tell the good folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Jeannine Devine, all places, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and check out the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, all podcast places. It's my podcast with my co-host Morgan Robinson. We have a couple shows over there. We also have the It's a Wonderful podcast YouTube channel. I post reviews there, fun little shorts, and we have a couple shows over there on YouTube as well.
And you can find all of these gentlemen, or these two gentlemen, over here on Bitesize Breakdown on the main website. And you can find me here on A Bigger Bite and my own personal YouTube channel, Watt Real Entertainment. Be sure to like and subscribe here, to Jeannine's, to mine, all that fun stuff. Check out everything. And until then, folks, we will see you next time. Peace.